What's good, everybody? It's your boy Jason4. I know what you're thinking. This is an unnecessary video of, what happens in the community post with, getting everybody their waifu, and I see, the comments that is there and, see who belongs to who. I don't know why I said that in such a roundabout way, but I said it. But anyway, I know what you're thinking, that this ain't the video. But again, if you haven't seen the 30-minute video, I highly recommend that you watch that because it explains why I don't necessarily, have the time or record things like I probably should. It explains all that in that video, so I highly recommend that you watch. Anyway, when it comes down to things, I had been brought up an interesting question, and I wanted to come back with somehow in some way to come back and talk about lollis again, but I feel like in every single instance, I have taught this entire topic into death. Pretty much, there isn't necessarily, any sort of way I could literally bring up this topic in any shape and form outside of maybe one or two ideas, including this one. Someone asked me, I remember last night, someone asked me in the DM on Twitter, which go ahead and follow that Twitter please. I want to at least try to hit 1150 to see, if it's possible. What's the difference between a short stack and a lolli? And pretty much I had to explain, a lolli and a short stack, and had to kind of go in depth about it. But then that honestly brings in another question about lollis and short stack. I know there's been somewhat of a debate, about this entire topic when it comes to it, especially when it comes to the character Midna, because a lot of people say, oh, Midna's actually just a short stack, she ain't no lolli, but then other people say that she is a lolli. And it's been a really confusing battle, so I would like to kind of, put my head into it and pretty much kind of debate and say once and for all what is and what isn't, because I feel like if there is some confusion, I should be the one to clear it up and try to help you out with it. So now, to absolutely get through all this, I had to explain basically what is a short stack and what is a lolli. And what a short stack is essentially is just a short lady, and pretty much they pack in some heat with some assets, whether it's like having some big titties or maybe it's having a huge ass. Usually that's what a short stack looks like, and they're short obviously, and it kind of goes with the name. But that's pretty much it when it comes to that. That's pretty much what a short stack is: a short lady with big ass titties and a big ass, literally. And that's pretty much the short stack that you see. Ilulu is an excellent choice and is a perfect example of a short stack. And you can even use, and I'm just going to use it because I feel like this character is underrated, La Brava, because yes, she is a damn short stack. I want to F La Brava so bad. Anyway, we already know what a lolli is, and just to go down for a quick run of it, a lolli is essentially a younger character, or maybe an older character, who knows. A lolli could be literally anything. A lolli is legit, in the most basic of terms, is basically a short female character that may not have, a lot of action going on in their respective areas, whether it's boob size or butt size. Honestly, they might have prepubescent basically features on their body, and that's just how they are. Essentially, they might look like a child, but they're not actually one, and sometimes they could be one, but sometimes they couldn't be one. Like how they have like the 1,000-year-old demon lollis, or how sometimes they have the actual ages of the person, but then it could be like, let's say like Tanya, a 14-year-old, but all we already know is, well, we all know that Tanya was reincarnated from a salary man and pretty much got into another world, which that body is essentially just 14-year-old, even though we know the person behind that 14-year-old body was actually an older person in another reality. So there's different really weird rules when it comes to logic of lolli, but just to keep it simple, it's basically a short girl with prepubescent looks and features of their body, and that's essentially what it is. So we define what a short stack is, and we define what a lolli is. Now, if you look at these two and you see what you got, is a short stack a lolli? Obviously not. And to be perfectly honest, it's really clear. One has big features, one doesn't have way developed features, honestly. And that's pretty much the defining factor of it entirely, honestly. But then that brings in a question though. If that is considered a short stack, then how come something like this can exist? Which is Opie Lolli. And Opie Lolli is honestly some of the most underrated lolli content of all time. It really is. Basically, Opie Lolli is essentially when a lolli character ends up having a really big titty. Like, they have massive chests for days, for whatever reason. Hell, even in the most banned manga that, you know, we covered a long while ago, even there was one character with a fat ass chest that was a lolli, our basic Opie Lolli. And essentially, you know, that what the story had, which again, a very rare find, but it did had it. And you know, those type of characters also exist. So yes, you might be thinking, okay, but if it has like an Opie then, like a huge ass chest, wouldn't that be considered, you know, short stack? And still, in a way, no, because again, while yes, they do have a developed feature in the front, that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, that's the whole deal with the short stack. Short stacks usually have massive asses as well, outside of just having a nice chest. Not to mention, they gotta have some thickness to their thighs too, so that's also something that you should consider. But mostly, they have to have both ass and chest at the same time. If not, you really can't truthfully call them a short stack. While you can, really, at least that's my definitive nature about it, if it's not gonna have a big ass and not have like a huge chest, then honestly, I'm not gonna call them a short stack, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Again, you can call them that with, you know, just having a huge rack, but still, I wouldn't call it that because I just feel like it's not necessarily definitive. Now, if a lolli character were to have a huge ass, thick thighs, and some fat ass titties, then that would get into the realm of short stack, which honestly, that would make this a whole new definition of some type of thing, honestly. Like, you will literally have to come up with another word, because it's not just an Opie lolli if they have all the features a short stack does. Which, honestly, I'll call the term LoliStack, honestly, because it's basically a lolli, but they have, you know, the short stackness. That's essentially what I would come down to it with. So it's basically lolli plus short stack equals LoliStack. That's perfectly, honestly, what I think. And to make it a bit more understandable, let's say you had Hiyoko from Danganronpa fused with Ilulu from Dragon Maid, put them together, and I have an actual Kokatsu model that I can actually show, and it will look like this. Basically, huge titty Hiyoko, huge ass, you know, with Hiyoko as well, you know, so that would be the LoliStack, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. That would be LoliStack, and that would be the definition of it. Basically, yes, it's unrealistic proportions of what a lolli can have, but, and you know, they are still at a young-ish kind of age, again, depending on the character, but 100%, they can absolutely exist. And the term I would honestly use is LoliStack if we're gonna just give a lolli a short stack feature. That, at least that's what I would call it personally. So I just created a new word, and you're welcome. And it's something that I would like to see more people do, honestly, because I don't necessarily see a lot of stacked lollies, if I'm being perfectly honest. So, is Midna honestly considered a lolli? Now, here's the thing, when it comes down to it, I understand that I know that people like to call Midna a short stack, and honestly, I know people like to call her an imp as well, because, you know, that's what she is, but lolli can also cover all of that stuff as well. You can be an imp lolli, it doesn't necessarily matter. You could be a short stack lolli, or aka LoliStacked, and pretty much you can be in that same position as well. So even if you say that Midna is definitely, you know, a short stack only has one feature to it, is that just the character is thick, and that's it. It can still, you know, That's pretty much the entire thing about it. Honestly, it can relate to any character, and the only thing that's like the major definitive thing about them is that they have huge rack and ass, and then they're short, and that's it. Lolli over the years has been shown to be a part of many different species and culture and different characters, and essentially they can be fitting in anything. So even if you don't necessarily think Midna is a lolli, oh no, she is, and the way her personality is honestly kind of adds to it. So 100%, even if you don't necessarily agree with what I'm trying to say, honestly, especially in the Midna case, it is what it is. Honestly, I would also consider Midna to be a lolli as well too, because it just makes a bit more sense than just say she's a short stack, because if she's a short stack, that doesn't necessarily give us any type of substance to that. Like, okay, but it's like we're missing something. It's like a piece of the puzzle is missing. So yeah, I would definitely give like Midna the lolli tag as well, if I'm being perfectly honest. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover for this one. So hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification ring out. Also follow me on Twitter, and if you'd like to donate to the channel, Patreon is available as well. And let me know if you agree with the term LoliStack or not. Let me know honestly. And until then, it's your boy Jay, signing off. Have a blessed day.